as possible. Is that
Right.
an RE40?
We're live.
RE20.
Oh, 20.
Yep.
This is
That's like
showing for 150 now.
150.
Holy cow!
Whew.
Wow, that's almost 3
So-
years.
So Chuck, what'd you do
Yep.
with your PR40? Did you happen to pack it in a box and ship it to me?
You don't want it. It's busted.
Oh. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am insanely jealous of the RE20 because that is like the pinnacle of broadcast quality microphone. But your PR40 was so buttery smooth in the past. What happened to it?
I'm not sure. I think my kids might have played with it or something, but for about 6 weeks, I wasn't getting good audio quality, and I finally narrowed it down to my microphones. So,
yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's a bummer.
yeah. So
Well,
it's,
I've been drooling over that RE20 for a few years, as well as the PR40, and then recently I know a couple of people that picked up a Shure SM7B and are getting insanely good quality out of those.
Well, Derek, you do have that video gaming channel now, and it needs really good, high quality audio.
It
so-
does,
That's right.
It truly does. Speaking of, I've apparently a whole lot of the Entree Programmer audience really like video games because I went from like 9 subscribers to 21 in this last week.
Nice.
That's funny.
So yeah, so that's fun. I finally got the channel to show up when you search for Code Ninja Gaming as well.
Oh, good.
So that's
nice.
good.
Very nice.
And I've been cranking out the videos. It's a good distraction from the video editing that I have to do otherwise.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that you do some voiceover work on Upwork, and then you take the money from that and buy a microphone.
No, that's like seriously. I've been tempted to. I mean, I love the Rode Podcaster. This is a great mic, but
It's a
it's a
good mic.
USB mic, so you're limited to all of the wonderful constraints of USB mic. And in spite of the quality of the mic itself, it's still a USB mic.
Yeah. Man, mine is
Well,
like
it's-
old by now. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking like how long have I had my Rode Podcaster? It's probably 5 years.
Yeah, it's 5.5 for me.
Yeah, I'd had the Heil PR40 for like 7.5
Wow.
years.
Yeah, that mic does
And it
sound
finally
good.
just died. But yeah, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to replace it, I'm going to replace it with a nice mic.
Yeah,
As much podcasting as I do, right?
yeah, seriously.
Cool.
Yeah. So I've been doing this copy hour thing with Jason Wyman is in there. Hey, Jason. He's part of the
Jason!
Which team is he on? He's one of the other Hunter Programmer podcasts.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't remember which one he's on. But yeah, so that's fun. We've done 5 days of copy hour so far. I've got so I'm taking the decidedly old school route with the old school assignments, and instead of looking at a monitor to type them out,
Oh,
I'm printing them.
Yes, I did the
Honestly,
same thing.
I find that significantly easier.
Yes,
It's
actually,
there's less distraction.
Derek didn't realize. This is the other Derek. Derek's running copy hour.
Yeah, Jared
Didn't realize that we were doing that. So it was actually when I was going through it, I was asking him, "Hey, can you give us?" Because he was sending us to like non-printable
Yeah,
versions, and I was like, "Hey, can we get this printable?" And he's like, "Oh, didn't realize you guys were doing that." And everybody else was like, "Yes,
yeah.
we're
Right.
printing this out."
Yeah, so he's been sending us JPEGs and PDFs, but some of them, I don't know if you can see this
Yeah,
at
The
all.
qualities can be really bad on some of those.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this one that we did today is. I mean, it's a blown up photocopy of a photocopy of a
Yeah.
newspaper.
Yep.
It's insanely bad quality. So somebody went and had a transcription done of this, posted it into the group. They missed a couple of key pieces, and I took the time to really strain my eyes and scrutinize the pieces that they missed, and sent it to him to add to his transcription.
The
But-
layouts on those are also worth considering too. I mean, you learn stuff just looking at how stuff's laid out.
Right.
Very
It's
cool.
intense. I mean, it is a seriously intense course. I'm about a fourth of the way, almost halfway through my first notepad, and it's
Yeah.
only been 5 days, 5 out of 90 days.
I think the version I did was 60 days, the first one, and I ended up with a stack of paper that was about 4 inches thick.
Yeah.
I kept, just out of pure pride, I kept all of them, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
I photographed the pile when I was
Absolutely.
done.
There is
Actually-
no way I'm getting rid of this. I'm gonna buy a box to store all this in.
One of the things that helped me land my copywriting internship, actually, with my mentor, was that I sent him photos of all the letters I'd hand copied.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's working.
Yeah, but it's only been 5 days, 5 out of 90 days, but it's all I can already see the gears in my head turning. Like not necessarily from my own efforts, but from the conversations that are happening in the Facebook group, especially. Like the first 2 days, I just kind of blindly copied them, trying to think about the aspects that Derek Johansson was telling us about the ads, and just kind of going, but then I started paying attention to the conversations, and I started realizing, oh, you know what? I know what he's talking about there. I know what you're talking about. I know, because all of the stuff that you guys have taught me over the last few years, it's starting to pop back into my head, and I'm starting to recognize what's going on. And then I'm reading Influence by Robert Cialdini on my Kindle, which is a phenomenal book, which I have another aside about that. But I'm starting to put all the pieces together. And like for today's ad, I had like a 5-paragraph write-up on all of the things that I noted about it, on the target audience and the techniques that they were using, and how they were, creating this level of envy, and they were using the reciprocity rule from Influence, and how, all these things that I'm going into. And I ended up getting a message, a private message on Facebook from one of the other group members, basically saying, "I'm loving what you're writing about these ads, Derek. This is so insightful."
Derek's going to start sending
websites-
marketing emails from DerekDaily.com.
This person was specifically asking, "Can you send me to, can you show me where your websites are? I really want to dig more into your material so I can learn from it." And I'm going, hold on a second. No, I'm here because I suck at this, not because I'm good at it.
Copy programmers.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is Derek. This is really cool to hear. So this is what happened to me too. What's happening is it's the kind of a parallel to what I'm doing now with my gymnastics training. Is it's like you have to develop in body, like for gymnastics training, it's body awareness. Like I'm trying to do this exercise that requires me to fire my obliques, on either side of my abs. I have no idea what that feels like.
Right.
So I can't do it because I don't even know what it feels like. But through, I'm basically doing this one exercise every day, and I'm concentrating on that one thing. And yesterday I was like, oh, okay, now I'm getting it. I'm starting to feel it. It was really exciting when you start to see, the pieces coming together like that. So this is fun to watch.
Yeah, it's intense. It's taking, honestly, it should be called Copy 3 hours.
Are you doing the whole ad? Are you going through the whole ad, or are you setting a timer?
I'm using a timer. He's very strict about us using timers, which helps me a lot, honestly. So far, I've been able to complete all of the ads in less time than the timer allowed, which is then I'm using the leftover time to read Influence per the instructions. But then with the ad copying, the reading to finish the hour, checking in on Facebook, engaging in the conversation, because that's where I'm really starting to put things together and get the value from the lesson for the day. And then there's additional homework and assignments for the evening.
Right.
Like there's every day there's right now we're doing research assignments, which has been mind-blowingly difficult for me to do. I've had a really hard time with the research aspect of this, which I think is, one of the big reasons that my own marketing efforts have been such failures in the last year.
I saw
So
your
it's-
comment about that in the Slack chat.
Yeah.
And it's I was actually talking to Dan, my marketing apprentice, about this yesterday, and it's like it's tough when you're in this niche because everyone is so bad at marketing. There's there's not really a way to find close parallels to what you're doing. That's where stuff's actually marketed fairly well.
Yeah, so it is difficult. Interestingly, though, I sent you guys an email about this earlier, but one of the responses that I got to my post in the Facebook group about this problem I'm having was somebody saying, you should really go check out simpleprogrammer.com. Those guys are doing an amazing job.
Well, it's funny because it's probably the circle coming full circle, because it's a good chance that guy was referred by me.
Right.
Yeah,
to that
Probably.
So.
Yeah, so there's several connections to people in the group that I have, which it's been interesting, and making friends in there, and getting to know who these people are. One person in there, she posted within like the first day or two a assignment, and asked for some general review of her own marketing materials on her website. And so I clicked through it thinking, okay, it'd be interesting to see what she has. She was talking about how amateur she felt and how she didn't like the writing on there. And so I clicked through to the site, and it's an ebook on decluttering. And I'm thinking, oh, actually, that's kind of an interesting subject to me because, look at the cluttery crap behind me.
Derek, let's start with the Lego head, okay?
Yes.
Get rid of the Lego head.
But I clicked through to her site, and I kind of just skimming through headlines, and I scroll down, and there's this big blue box right in the middle of the second page of content, which is what's that term? Something disruptor, breaker. When you like whatever.
Yeah, I've heard him called a speed bump.
Yeah, whatever the term is to when you throw something out there that's so completely
Pattern
different
interrupt.
Pattern interrupt.
Pattern interrupt. Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of. Total pattern interrupt. So I actually paid attention to the big blue box, and literally the first sentence she has in there, my internal emotional reaction was, "Oh God, that's me." She had me hooked. It was so well written. So I read, like 5 or 6 lines in that box, and immediately scrolled down to the bottom of the page and paid the $20 for the product that she had. It was that well done. It was insanely good.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so it's been interesting to be in this group and to be doing this. The aside that I mentioned earlier with Robert Cialdini's Influence book, I didn't realize it when I first started reading his book. I was like, that name looks kind of halfway familiar. Oh, I think Josh and John have talked about him before and talked about this book. And I'm starting to read the introduction, and I'm thinking, wow, this is weird. This sounds really familiar.
Yeah, he's
beyond just Josh and John.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a social psychology professor in Arizona. Oh,
yeah.
My wife talks about his work all the time. So that's fun. So I'm reading. This is totally written for a generalized audience. Pop literature, but it's based on actual research that he's done. This is like legitimately the kind of research that my wife does. She does it on different subject areas within social psychology, but she's very familiar with his research and his work, and knew about this book. And as I was mentioning this, she was like, "Oh yeah, he did this and that and the other thing." And I was like, "Oh yeah, he talked about that in the first chapter."
What's funny about that book is that it's become like kind of a Bible for marketers,
right?
In some ways, and throughout the book, like basically he's writing it to warn the world about marketing.
Exactly.
Right.
It's consumer protection.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, you're right about the marketing aspects of this. I mean, toward the beginning of the book, he lists several different aspects of, influence, and I'm thinking, yeah, sales letter, sales letter, sales letter, sales letter. Yeah, okay, these are all parts of a good sales letter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, okay, this is really interesting. And then combining that with everything that I've learned through the influence of you guys in the last few years, plus what's going on with the Copy Hour, it's like I'm starting to get the gears turning in my head, and I'm starting to see that I really need to start using some of these tools and techniques, like the whole bullet point thing that we discussed in the Entre Programmers Slack. I think it was with Jason. I need to use those kinds of bullet points, like, have you run into this? See this part. Have you run into that? See this part. I need to use those kinds of bullet points because that's kind of the perfect style for the content that I create.
Yep. It's specific too, and it this is another thing I was talking to Dan about yesterday. Is like one of the things that most people miss in copy is the specificity. And when you can show it's one thing to just say this is going to make things easier for you or it's going to make you more productive. But when you have some things like that, it's like, go to this minute and second mark. Like, it's you're either lying about it or you're
this
not.
Video, this minute. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
there's your answer. So that, and from today's ad, as well as the influence book, the rule of reciprocity, I think this is something that I have been doing wrong. I've been, the whole approach of, okay, give people something free and that'll make them more likely to buy something. I've been doing that, but I've been approaching it incorrectly with the wrong mentality about it, and end up using the wrong words around it when I'm doing these things for people. Like, as an example, I realized that when I am asking somebody to give me their email address in exchange for something, that is already an exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I am not doing somebody a favor by giving them that PDF. They have already given me something in exchange for the PDF.
Mm-hmm.
What I need to do beyond that is give them the next free thing. So I give them the PDF. Now I have their email address. Now I need to put together an email sequence that gives them the next free thing, so that they feel that obligation, that indebtedness, like, oh, he gave me something additional, this free bonus above and beyond what I had already asked for.
Right.
And then move them into the next part of the sequence, which will start talking about some additional materials that I have. And, this one, maybe is a $10 ebook or whatever. And then it goes on, on and on and on from there. So there's a lot of opportunity for using the reciprocity that I haven't been doing properly, including my sales pages and the bonus materials that I have. Like the ad from today was some cosmetic cream that you put on your face to quote, make yourself look 10 years younger. And one of the things they're doing for this is including a free $21 gift with your purchase. Well, that free $21 gift, it does two things. It provides both a bonus to make the purchase price of the current product seem like it's a better value. I'm paying $40 for this product, but I'm also getting this $21 gift. So I'm getting, $60 worth of product for $40. That's a pretty good deal. But once they have the product in hand, there's that rule of reciprocity. A gift was given to me, this $21 product that I have, that I get to keep, even if I don't like the main product. This is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but I didn't like the main product. Oh, but now, I have the gift. They gave this to me. Maybe I won't ask for that refund because I appreciate the gift and I don't want to go against those social norms and that obligation that I feel.
Yeah.
So in direct mail days, they called, so anything you did like that was called a stick letter, or like a stick strategy. It was like an extra offer to help cut down on refunds.
Right. And somebody in the group this morning was asking, you know, what kind of refund rate did they get? I bet it was pretty high. And I responded with the opposite, saying, I bet it was actually pretty low, probably less than average for this type of product because of the free gift that they included and the reciprocity that it creates.
One good balancing point to the reciprocity thing is in scientific advertising. There's a section in there he talks about how giving away free gifts, if you do it wrong, it cheapens them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he would do is he would give away, like he did sampling. So he was selling like this type of product, like cosmetics or soap. I mean, he was the guy that made Ivory soap big, Palmolive. He basically put them on the map. Like tons of companies that are still around today. And so what he would do is he'd send them, he'd put it in the newspaper, he'd give a coupon, and he'd say, you know, take this coupon and we'll buy you a cake of this soap or whatever. And like they would literally pay full retail price for the soap, but they were requiring them to take a step to get it. When they would just send the samples out to everyone, it was useless. And it was like
cheapened it.
Yeah, it cheapened it, and it didn't work. So I think a lot of people now do that. Like with giving away free bonuses and stuff, they do it in such a way that it's like it's not something that you really want. So requiring them to take like even a small extra step could like with Derek in your case, maybe telling them, I've got this $10 ebook, hit reply, and basically ask me for it and I'll send it to you.
Right. Oh,
would be better than just sending it out, whether they want it or not.
Yeah,
or a discount code.
That would I don't know if maybe the discount
with
code.
100% discount code.
Yeah, but if I get them to ask me for it specifically, it'll create that sense of indebtedness because they are asking me for it, and I am I'm obliging their request. I'm giving them something for their request, so it'll create that sense of thanks, man, I owe you one. Yeah,
but just like bombarding them with that's what people do wrong is they just bombard people with free content that they didn't. I mean, some of that's useful, but you go overboard with it, and it's just kind of like I don't have time to read all this.
That's brilliant. I've been thinking about this for the enterprise sales that I want to get into as well. Now that I have that team subscription, and I think I could do something similar in that scenario. I was originally thinking I would use one of those APIs out there to do on-demand print and ship of postcards, and give people a URL to go get some content for Docker or RabbitMQ or whatever. But I think this approach might be a little better. Like, hey, if you're interested in solving this particular problem set, shoot me an email. Here's my email address. And let me know, and I'll send you a free I'll send you a 20-page ebook, or I'll send you a 10-minute screencast, or.
So a good one for that, would work good. Actually, this is from a really good book called The Ultimate Sales Machine by, I think it's Chet Holmes. And he talks about your top 100, right? And your dream 100. And he talks about sending them physical stuff, but not just postcards, like actual, relevant physical stuff.
Lumpy mail. It's called.
Mail, yes.
Lumpy mail, I like that.
Lumpy mail, yeah. What would be cool for you, Derek, would be to pick out some big companies, some really big companies that would benefit from Watch Me Code training, like at the enterprise level, and then to knit one of those, crochet one of the a logo or something like if you could crochet their logo or something similar, something their colors or something like that, and you mail that to them and then you've got something that's got somewhere they can click to watch a sample video or something.
Lumpy knitting.
Yeah, I mean this is the Kendo UI mascot.
There you go.
I worked for Kendo UI for a year.
I'm not liking the position of that that
little flap. Sorry, that shouldn't be sticking up. It's supposed to be the cover for the thing that is not supposed to stick up in public.
But yeah, if you do something like that, that could be really big. I mean, obviously you got to pick. Part of the strategy is picking your top 100, like your dream kind of.
And then
But-
finding the right person at the company.
Right.
Yeah, and you just keep on sending them stuff. Is kind of his. You could probably check out just those chapters in that book.
Right.
But yeah, I think that would be, because if you land one of those companies, there you go. That's your revenue. That's your revenue. Double your revenue for the entire year.
Well, seriously, you could one of those, like a big company like that could be like 6 figures.
Yeah,
I mean, it's worth investing a little bit of knitting time.
It's one of those.
And yarn.
Yeah, it's that essentialism, or is it,
Right.
I mix up the essentialism, which is with the one thing, but either way, it's the one thing that you could do that would make 80% of everything else irrelevant, right? And that's the,
Right. So I have a prediction from all of this conversation. In the next week or two, I'm totally going to be riding high on the endorphins and adrenaline from starting to see the gears turning. In about a month, I am going to want to punch Josh in the face for
With your baking hand.
yes, for him basically convincing me that I need to do this. And then from that, I'm going to want to quit my job because I'm going to be so miserable and so confused that I can't see how any of this is ever going to work. And then toward the end of the 90 days, I'm going to start actually putting the stuff into play, and I'm going to start seeing some slow success. I mean, that's just kind of the typical learning curve here.
Yep.
Oh, this is so exciting. Oh my Lord, I hate my life. Well, okay, this
I'm
is
making
starting
a
to
note
work.
not to
Wow, look at
the
that.
door.
I'm going through that with hiring.
Yes.
So yeah.
I should write up the 5 stages of learning to be a marketer. The 5 stages of entrepreneurial grief in marketing.
I really like this technique though. I was thinking I'm actually going to do a video. I keep forgetting to do a video about this, but like the copy hour thing, just the idea that like if you can't figure out what to do, the best, like one strategy that always works is to just like figure out what someone else who's performing at the level that you want to perform is,
Right.
and then just work 3 times harder or do 3 times what they're doing.
Mhm.
And then it's not always the best strategy, but it's a strategy that always works. Like I was thinking about, one of my friends was talking about their kid was trying to, like, couldn't get on the team, or no, they're on the baseball team or something. And he was being benched a lot and stuff. And I remember hearing a story from someone talking about this, but anyway, and he said that the coach wasn't playing him. And I was like, well, I like the solution, the solution is, how often are they practicing? Oh, well, they practice like 3 times a week. Well, just if your son really wants to do it, I guarantee you, if he practices 7 days a week, right, and then does and practices for twice as long as the regular practices, and he's doing it on his own, he's going to be the top player within a very short amount of time. Like it will automatic. Like it's like you can think of those things where you're going to automatically achieve success. There's no way you can't achieve success, and that's what like copy hour is kind of like one of those things, because it's like, well, if you do all of this freaking work and you're going through all that stuff, guaranteed at the end you're going to come out good. Like there's there's no way that you can't. But
Yep.
I think Derek's muted.
He's
I am
definitely-
muted. Yes. Thank you.
Yes,
He was making the gestures though.
speaking of which, I did. I actually got I've been doing that kind of with my running, like I'm not going to like competitively run, but last night I was forced to run on a treadmill because it was late at night and it was dark and it was raining. So I was like, all right, I'm pushing this. Let's see what I can do since I can control the pace. So I jacked the sucker up to 14 miles an hour,
Holy crap.
and I ran a 5-minute mile.
Holy
So,
cow!
under 5-minute mile. So now
Wow.
this is on a treadmill, so I don't know if I could repeat that on the street,
Right. Different scenario,
Yeah,
but still.
but yeah, I was pretty happy because one of my goals for the year is to run a 6-minute mile. So,
Achievement unlocked.
Yes. But I basically I was like, well, if I put in 40 to 50 miles a week, I'm gonna, regardless of my size, I'm gonna be a pretty good runner. Like,
yeah.
and so, which is weird because like I've never been a distance runner or or any kind of runner. So
A Homestar runner.
Homestar. Oh, so I got something I wanted to share with you guys. I was working on my year, planning my goals and my routines and stuff. And so I went through, I asked myself a bunch of questions is kind of how I started, questions of what went best in 2016, what was worse, what's my current strengths, what's my current weaknesses, what did I like doing, what was the most effective thing that I did. I just came up with this kind of long list of questions, and I answered all these kind of free form. And then I basically came up with, okay, so what am I going to do? What is my new routine and schedule going to be? My guidelines, philosophy, rules, and stuff like this. And I think I talked a little bit about it last week, but I basically have set up a new routine now. So I took off all the apps off of my phone, no email, and I reduced my checking to checking. A lot of things fell to checking once a week, like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and then I took off and then email. Basically, I only check it when I'm going to respond, which is once a day. And I put, but one of the scheduling things that I did was I started meditating for 10 minutes every day, which is going pretty awesome. So my schedule when I wake up is I do I get my coffee, I read. There's a Stoic journal that that Ryan Holiday put out, so I do a daily thing in that and read for 20 minutes. Then I meditate for 10 minutes. And then I've been doing journaling, and I got this journal, this self journal. It's called, self journal. But you know what? It lasted one day, and then I'm throwing it out. Cause it's
Trash.
It seems so good. It's it might work for some people. I think it's actually pretty good. It's got this 12-week roadmap for your goals and stuff, and then every day you have a space to plan out your day and that. But you know what, I didn't find it really that effective. It feels like it's a lot of busy work. I already planned my day with my Kanban board and stuff. I've already got my routine and stuff. So I came up with something that I thought was pretty cool. I actually need to get a real journal, but I did it on this. I believe that if you're going to do something, you should do it with shitty stuff first.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because if you're serious, because it's when I started running, I was
John, we need to do a Kickstarter for the Simple Programmer Journal, and it'll just be that.
yes.
We'll just send everybody a mead.
Just plaster it over the front of this.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah. But yeah, because I was thinking that in fact that's why I said Derek, I was saying you should earn the money to buy the microphone, but because I think if you buy shitty stuff for it, if you get the shiny thing up front, the reward, then you don't do it. You buy the shoes and so the guitar.
Where's the reward in that?
I came up with my own. And I think this is pretty good. I think this is a pretty good system. So there's one unique thing, and I'm actually thinking about creating a Simple Programmer journal for this for this one thing, though, not the whole thing that I'm doing. So what I do now is I like the gratefulness thing, but I think sometimes it's overused. So I put 3 things I'm grateful for every day to get in the grateful mentality. And I try to visualize it actually instead of just writing down some stuff. I try to visualize, and remember the moment, and, so that I actually, because if you don't bring up the feeling of gratefulness and you just write down what you're grateful for, it's not really effective. It's been so overplayed. That word has been used so much that it used to have effect, but now we tend to not. So that's the first thing I do. Then I write out what is stressing me currently. And then, so I'll write out what is stressing me. And then under it, I'll write a couple of bullets on how to resolve that stress. And this is extremely effective for me. So I just think what is the top thing that's stressing me out right now? What am I stressed out? And then I'll just write oh, I could do this. I could do that. Or it could even be as simple as, you know what, that's actually pretty stupid, and so I'll write that down. Like, there's no point. Like, the best thing you could do is just let go of it because it doesn't matter. But that really helped to just go through those things. So then because you got all that, you know, you don't realize you've got this like nagging feeling in the back of your head, like you got this stuff that's stressing you out, and it's like, and it's staying with you in your subconscious. So you're going throughout your day and you're like, what do I feel, like this sense of hurry, or like there's something undone, or panic, and it's because you've got stuff that's stressing you out that you haven't brought to the front. So I bring it to the front right at the beginning of the day, and then give myself actions that will reduce it, so that, because once your brain knows what the thing is and it knows how you're going to resolve it, it lets go. But if it doesn't, it just keeps nagging you. It's like, oh, hey, don't forget about that shit. Don't forget about that.
Yeah, because
it's 10 times worse when you're
saber-toothed tiger behind the bush, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like,
and it's 10 times worse as a software developer, because we are trained to do nothing except focus on that problem until it's resolved.
Exactly.
right.
And so that and then the third thing I go through is thoughts and ideas. So I figure out like what are like some brand new ideas or thoughts that I had for the day, just kind of like, you know, brainstorming kind of stuff that I might implement, or, you know. And then the final one, this is the one I'm excited about, which is I put the failures I had from the previous day, or mistakes that I made, and then under them I put bullets of what I learned from them, right? So I think about the failure and I think about what can I learn, what is the takeaway, how to prevent this failure in the future, basically what I learned from them. And that's the thing that I think is the most beneficial, because I was looking at these stupid journals.
It's like a daily Scrum, John.
kind of.
Or the Scrum retrospective or whatever.
Well, some of these journals, it's like, what big wins did you have for today? And it's like, I feel like there's enough like patting yourself on the back, and you don't really learn anything from success. It's like, okay, good job. All right. Yeah. But, you know, mistakes and failures, that's where you learn, right? And so that's the goal. So my focus is kind of shifting this, is to say like, look, here's the thing. If I start journaling every single one of my failures that I have every day, and I journal what I learned from them, that's valuable. You look at that at the end of the year and you read through all that shit, and that's some valuable stuff there, because that's real learning stuff, and you got to be brutally honest. So here's my idea, is to create a failure journal.
I was just going to say.
A failure journal, right?
Oh, gosh.
And this, I think this works for multiple reasons. One, because like I said, just the benefit of like looking at your previous day and saying, okay, where did I fail and what can I learn from it? But and the learning is valuable. I mean, I've gotten some gold stuff here from failure, right? And I got to tell you about one, but in a second. But it shifts the mindset, right? Because we look at failure as a bad thing, but now I'm looking at things. I'm like, now, because, you know, normally you feel bad. You're like, oh shit, I really fucked that up. But now I'm like, oh, I get to write about that in my journal tomorrow and what I learned. And now it's like gold. Now it's not like I'm going out and trying to fail, but I'm like, now I'm expanding my circle a little bit more, because I'm like, well, if I mess this thing up, I'm going to have something that I'm going to learn. And it's like, every failure is a gold nugget. And so I feel like, you know, if I had a journal for a year worth of every time I screwed up every day and why and what I learned from it, that would be like more valuable than just about anything I could have for that year. So that's what I was thinking.
And John, you're becoming a legitimate scientist.
my big failure, you know what actually got me on this, my big failure is this over the weekend I tried to hire some guys off of Craigslist. So because I got a little cocky, right? I was like, oh, one of my strengths is hiring people, so I need to hire people. I need to do more of that, right? So I thought I had some kind of magic. So I needed to get this like little recess built into my wall. I had this idea like, oh, I could put my gaming console, like my TV stuff. There's like this room behind, or there's space behind the wall where there's a staircase. So I could have someone knock that out and frame that in and make a little hidden, right? So it's like, oh, that'd be cool. And then I got these safe racks.
Oh, it gets better, Chuck. It gets much better.
Aptly named, they're called safe racks, right? from Costco that you hang from your garage, right? And I was like, in the past, I've always gotten Gorilla racks in my garage, but they take up a lot of floor space. So it's like, oh, these hanging racks that you can put shit on, that's pretty awesome, right? So I was like, okay. So I put out 2 Craigslist ads. I put out one for, I took a picture of the wall and I like drew a little where I want the cutout and tried to explain it.
Yeah.
And then I did one and said, okay, I got these safe racks from Costco. It's pretty easy. Just hang it on the thing. Right. And so I got tons of people. Right. And so it's like, oh, I got tons of people. Right. So this one guy, he offers me $40 to install the racks in the garage. And I was like, you know how to get this installed? You've done this stuff before. He's like, yeah. And this is a pretty easy job, right? I just don't want to do it. And I don't have the tools. And it's like, you got the tools? Yeah. Okay. So he comes that, so I was like, okay, I'll take $40. Yeah, sure. That's a done deal. And, so he's on his way and he's supposed to be here and he's late and he texts me and he's like, ran out of gas.
Oh man.
So I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I was going to do this for gas money. I figured I could pick up $40 for gas money. He's like, I'll be there in about an hour. So I was like, all right, the guy's not going to show up, but he shows up. Okay. So the dude shows up and he comes over. He looks like what I expected him to look like. And he, and he installs the which was some loser white dude, right? Like I didn't expect him to be like one of the guys, a Mexican guy hanging at Home Depot doing home repair. It just seemed like, because those guys don't run out of gas. They're smart enough to know that they got the job that they need to do, right? So anyway, he hangs up the thing. Like it takes him a really long time. The first thing I tell him, I was like, just make sure. I said, it's a pretty simple job. Just make sure that it's you put these in the studs. Obviously, you don't want to put it right into the drywall, right? Okay. So he's kind of done.
Waiting for the shoe to drop here,
or
the ceiling.
I'm waiting for the whole ceiling to drop.
Yes.
He comes to get me at one point, and he's like, "Oh, it's not going to fit in here." And I like look at the instructions. I'm like, it's pretty obvious. You just move that thing over a little bit. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. I guess it will fit. I guess 8 feet. Yeah. Okay. So then he's done with the job. It takes he did one rack. He didn't do the other one. And he's like, so I felt bad for him. I was like, because it took him like 2.5 hours or something like that. And so I was like, look, dude, here's the thing. He's like, I got to go. I can come back Monday. I was like, look, I said, I'll pay you $40 for the one rack and I'll pay you $40 for the other because, I feel bad. Like this job is worth more. Like I can't give you $40 for both.
I'd have paid him the extra 40 to tell him not to come back.
well, there was nothing really wrong at this point. He did an okay job, right?
All right.
So I'm loading up. My wife is with me. We're like, oh, we can finally load up all the Christmas stuff. And the first thing she says to me, she's like, okay, be careful with this one because this one's got all my precious ornaments and stuff in it. I'm like, she's worried that I'm pushing it too far to the edge. I was like, no, it's not going to fall off of the edge. Like there's,
right.
If you can imagine that. So I put all the stuff up here, probably maybe 200 pounds worth of stuff. I've got it all up there. I go to the edge of one of them and I noticed that it's not like clipped in all the way. Like it's got those, if you've seen the Gorilla racks where it's got the 2 little, things and you got to, so I kind of pull a little bit and then I pull a little bit harder and boom, my cat-like reflexes. I'm like, all this stuff, and I'm like Atlas, right, holding up, and I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? Like this whole fucking thing is above me. It is falling. Right, my wife runs under and she goes to lift it up, and I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here!" It's like freaking heavy, right?
I'm gonna die.
Is this how I end? Do I get crushed by fucking Christmas ornaments? Right? So I'm like, all right, I'm going on 3. 1, 2, 3. And I jump out of the way, and the whole fucking thing comes crashing down, and the ornaments break.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, dude, he didn't put it in the fucking. He drilled these fucking like 3. There must have been 5-inch bolts into drywall. what the hell? Like, one job. Like, how could you even think that would hold? Right? Like and it's not like you can make them like the difference between drilling into wood and drywall. Like, there's no way, right? So
yeah, apparently this guy didn't.
You're making a lot of assumptions, John.
No, I guarantee you that. Like, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's not an honest mistake, right? I'm like, you did a shit job. So I texted him. I taking pictures of the thing. I'm like, the whole fucking thing fell on my head. What the fuck, dude? Right? And he just, no response, right? No, of course. I'm like, obviously, don't come back. So
wow.
Oh,
then I gotta tell you later, the guy, I have another guy that I get all these bids for, like, oh, I can do the, the cutout for you for the entertainment center and stuff. I picked this one guy. He's like, I can do it for, I think he said 150 or $200. Seemed a little low, but I was like, all right, whatever. I didn't vet any of these guys out, right? So this is
Right.
my mistake journal, because this is not how I recommend hiring people. We talk about that a lot, and I did not do what I said. I didn't even ask one fucking relevant question, right? So anyway, this guy shows up, or no, he's supposed to show up. All these other people, I'm telling them, oh, no, I've got a guy coming, right? And he finally shows up at like 8 o'clock at night or something, right? And he's like, oh, my friend didn't come. He has my tools. So he comes into my house. He's got a pencil, one of those, marking pencils. Yeah. He's got a claw hammer, and he's got a box cutter. And I'm like, what the? So he goes over to the wall. He's like, this wall, and and he just like, he starts writing on the friggin' wall. Both me and my wife are standing there like, what the hell, dude? Like, he's like, how big do you want it? I was like, well, let's talk about this. He's like, okay, yeah, okay. I was like, no, let's like, I kind of want your help to figure this out. Like, where do we want to center? And he's like, oh, okay, oh, I see. I said, yeah. And then he's like, he starts cutting the wall, right? And then he's like, he cuts down the thing. He's like, you got some newspapers or something to put down? He's like, nah, it's all right. And so he's cutting all this shit. He doesn't prep the place. He's using the box cutter to cut through the drywall. And then there's like some plywood behind it, right behind the wall where the stair casing is. And he takes the claw hammer, and he uses the back of the claw hammer, and he hacks at right? I'm not a handyman, but I know what a sawzall is, right? And I know that I would probably use that to cut neatly through the right. And so, so he's like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. And then I'm like, oh, and you got to move the electrical outlets. He's like, oh, really? And I was like, yeah, that was in the job, right? That's what I said it in the job. He's like, I don't do electrical, bro. And I it's like I'm an honest guy. I don't want to tell you, like, some people come in here and they're like, oh fuck, I'll do electrical and shit, and like, and they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, I'm not gonna bullshit you, bro. So I'm like, all right, that's fine, like, but he's like, but I got an electrician. So I was like, okay, all right. So he's like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow at 1 p.m. and I'll bring my electrician. So 1 p.m. rolls around, right? Nothing, not a text, nothing. And then, I call him up, or I text him. Basically around like 4 or 5 o'clock, he's basically not answering. Finally, he's like, I couldn't find an electrician. Oh, and I gave him $60 for materials, right? And then, so it ends up basically, I finally found these guys that I hired to do it. He actually got pissed off at me. He was like, what, when I canceled the job on him, I was like, don't bother to show up. And I've given him $60, and he's like, what about the materials I bought? What about the time I spent? And I was like, you put a fucking you claw hammered a fucking hole in my wall, and I give you $60. Like, get the fuck out of here, right? Ridiculous. So I got these other guys, like, I vetted them out, and I figured, I finally got
Job
smart.
one,
right?
come fix the shit that these other assholes did.
Oh, and they're making fun of me. They're like, what the hell? What did this guy do? What did he do?
What did he fucking claw hammer at the stairs or something? Yes.
So
Oh my
yeah, I
gosh.
found these other guys, and I asked them a bunch of questions. Saw their examples of their work and stuff, and I figured all I have to do is hire the guy to do the drywall, right, and the framing. Because if I find that guy, I can just say, hey, what will you charge to? I know he can install racks in a garage, right? I was like,
Right.
so if I find a guy that's skilled enough to do that, which is what I did, so then I, these guys,
I feel
Figure
like
out where the wood is in the wall.
yeah,
There
these
might
two
be-
brothers.
there might be an email in this somewhere. at
There
some-
is. There absolutely.
There has to be.
This is gold.
But the guys I got now, they're pretty solid. They did the racks
John,
already. I
if
did
we do the
pull-ups off
fra-
the racks.
If we do the Freedom Journal, I think that will be the sales letter right there.
Yeah,
Sorry,
mistake
not
journal?
the mistake journal. Yeah.
The fail journal.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I was like, oh, I got to capture this goal because I'd like, and I was feeling bad, and this is what made me think that this is actually a really good idea because you can imagine after that I was feeling like shit, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, not only have I blown $100, right, giving like these jackasses this money, but I have freaking holes in my ceiling. Shit is coming down. Like the racks are like, I didn't even touch them. They're coming down. There's broken shit on the floor. There's a fucking hole in the wall that, right. I'm like, this was supposed to be a productive day. Now I got to actually.
Oh
right?
man.
So I was feeling pretty bad. But then when I did the journaling the next day and I wrote down the mistakes and what I learned from them, then I actually felt good. Then I was like, oh, wait a minute. You know what? That experience was actually a really good experience because I learned a lot. I really did learn a lot from that. And it was good that it happened because that actually that led me to these guys that I found that will do a quality job and are doing a quality job, and I can hire them for other jobs. And now I've got reliable people and I understand.
Yeah.
And I realized, a few different things, like not to rush, to ask the question, to all these kind of things that I was making mistakes. So I think it might be a good idea to have like a failure journal, right?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, so one book that I read a while back was The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And one of the things he talks about is journaling. And I don't know if you necessarily need a failure journal, but yeah, make sure you're putting this stuff in there and thinking about it and writing about it and thinking about it with your physical hand. Just stuff like that.
I swear, absolutely. This journal needs to be just flat black with giant white letters. Fail. That's the only thing on the cover. That is the only thing on the cover.
Yeah, maybe it's
backside.
hashtag fail.
Yeah, hashtag fail.
Yeah,
Nice.
And then each page at the top says, "What did you F up today?"
Yes.
yeah. But I really think this is a good idea. Like, I hate the whole journal craze, like, because everyone's like making their journals and selling their shit. But I honestly think this one would be valuable because
Totally.
I really think that this is gold here. Like, and it's mostly like it's good to get this stuff on paper, but it's the psychological difference. Now I'm literally looking at every day and I'm thinking about the failures that I have, but I'm thinking of them totally different. I'm not thinking of them as bad things. I'm like, okay, how did I fuck up today? Great. This is awesome. This is great information that I can use to make my next day better. And that's so much better than when I was like focusing on what went well today. Like, that's
You know what this
don't get
is?
enough value.
So John and I are reading Anti-Fragile right now for we joined Perry's Roundtable Mastermind, and we'll be doing that next week actually. And one of the assignments was to read Anti-Fragile, and the definition of anti-fragile is that harm makes you stronger. Like, it's not just that you're resistant to harm, it's that harm actually makes you stronger. And by taking note of failures that way and really picking them apart, you're making yourself better. You're becoming more anti-fragile.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because everything that that would harm me actually is making me better. Like, that's anything any system that you can make anti-fragile is a good, right? So it's important to make your own personal system anti-fragile. So anyway, that was it. But I'm having like it's working good. Like to be able to go through this process and I'm just and it's forcing a self-evolving process, because when I fail and I'm like, well, that's because my schedule was unreasonable. Oh, okay, then I can modify my own routine. It's like a self-feedbacking loop. So.
Yep. Oh, I've had my share of frustrations this week. So the transition between podcast editors did not go smoothly.
Uh-oh.
So I haven't released a podcast episode in 2 weeks. And well, yeah, we'll get them out next week, but yeah, it's just, I mean, part of it was because I was in Las Vegas, and part of it was just, communication issues. I think I've got everything ironed out, and I think overall we're going to wind up with better quality podcast episodes with the editing and the show notes. But it's been super frustrating because it's like, I hate missing a week, and 2 weeks on everything is just, it's killing me. But yeah, and so I keep telling them, they're like, well, we need all this stuff so we can start editing. I'm like, just start freaking editing. I mean, the rest of it is, put in ID3 tags and get it on the website. That can happen next week. But yeah, I'm so frustrated. But I think I have everything that they need for them now, so we should get episodes done next week.
I wonder if you can get a buffer, like at least a week buffer.
Yeah, that's kind of where I've been. I think where I'm going to wind up is, I'll just pay him for an extra week and see if we can just get a week ahead. But yeah, it's interesting. The people that they have working on this stuff are top notch, though. So I'm really excited to see where we get to. It's just this whole setup, because I've got a weird, like everything I do is different, because I'm not on Libsyn or something like Libsyn for my media hosting. I'm on CacheFly, and I've got custom setups for like everything, even though I'm in WordPress. So it's like, okay, well, I do this differently, and here's how. And I think once we get that all figured out, but I agree, John. The one nice thing about that is that I think we're 3 episodes ahead on every show now as far as recording goes.
Oh, so you've made a step towards a buffer then.
Yeah.
Basically, like you can convert this into a good.
Yeah, I just want them to get edited more than a week in advance, right? So that then I know, okay, next week is just set to go. And then if there's some funky thing or we do some weird scheduling thing, then we can just handle it. Like episode 300 for Ruby Rogues. We actually scheduled past it, but now that we have this buffer recorded, we can get back in. I just scheduled it, and it's still 2 weeks before it needs to go out.
Right. Yeah.
So, because we have 4 or 5 episodes now in the can. So it did work out that way, but at the same time, just like, I don't want to miss weeks, releasing episodes. And then I am so tired of hiring. Oh my gosh.
Just fire everyone like I did. Do it all yourself.
Yeah, I've been doing that, and I would like to get to the point where I can like sleep and see my family again.
Yes.
So,
seriously.
Yeah. But I honestly think I'm going to wind up with 2 or 3 people here within the next month or 2, instead of just one other person helping me with this stuff. I think I'm just going to talk to the girl that I've had doing my work on Upwork, and just see if she wants to just transition over to invoicing me directly and picking up whatever time I give her.
Yep.
And I'm seriously tempted to hire 2 people instead of just 1.
And like let them battle each other out. That's what they did at Track
There
About
could be
It.
only one, right?
Exactly.
They hired us in pairs at Track About It, and like one person, like one of the twins would die.
Two
Thunderdome.
entered,
Two
one
developers
left.
enter, only one comes out.
Yeah.
Until the other one comes out, usually dead.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I've got, so the girl in Texas, her name's Grace, and she's been doing a really good job, like getting everything together for the conferences, especially since I'm not always good at telling her exactly what I want. So she'll get something close, and then I get it. But anyway, so I think I'm gonna basically have her handle everything for the conferences and have this other person handle everything for the podcasts, and then we'll see how that balances out. But I don't know. I think I have more work than you know than one person can handle.
Well,
Just
get two, do it, and then just know that probably one of them you'll end up firing, which is totally fine. But then you'll have one that will be doing the capacity. I mean, what I would guess most likely is if you hire two, you'll find one of the two will be able to do the job of two people.
Oh, really?
Won't like. I mean, you might get two good ones, but that that would be your best scenario. Is maybe you figure out who's an A player. But if you've gone through this whole, because you did a lot of work to do this hiring, so
yes,
get two out of it, and just and if two work out, it's great. Assume that one won't. But then you won't have to go through this again because it's just going to cost you a little bit of extra money potentially to find this out. But you've already spent so much time that in my mind, it makes sense to go ahead and hire the two and see what happens. And like I said, if they both work out, that's great. But just keep in your mind that probably one of them won't, which is fine, because then you'll have picked the best out of the best.
Yep. The other thing that I'm finding though is that I have, and this is something that I didn't anticipate that I'm trying to figure out, and that is that I have different people with different skill sets. So I initially I was like, look, they've got to have the right attitude. They've got to be able to figure this stuff out and do a good job. But I've got a whole bunch of people that fit that description. And so now it's, okay, do I want the person who was in PR for 10 years, or do I want the person who, set up systems and managed processes for freaking Zions Bank, which is it's a small bank nationally, but they're one of the bigger banks here. And she did a whole bunch of that stuff for the Bank Corporation, which owns like 8 other banks. And so, it's like, okay, well, I want that skill set, and oh, gee, it'd sure be nice to have this PR skill set, and and so it's like, okay, which of these do I want? I have somebody else who's super enthusiastic because she and her husband are starting podcasts, and so, she's looking at this as an opportunity to learn from me, and the excitement about it is nice because she's got the passion for what I do. So I didn't anticipate having to pick between those kinds of things.
It sounds like you're trying to make a decision without really without enough information at this point. What do you mean? Well, like you've got it narrowed. How many people do you have it narrowed down to? Like about half a dozen or so now, or?
So I have 2 more in-depth interviews today, and then I'm done with those.
And what's your final pool?
Probably about a dozen people. But then I'm going to send them the sample project, and I've eliminated people on that too. So they're going to get the sample project, and I'm going to call references next week. I anticipate that will probably get me down to 4 or 5 people. Okay,
well then, that shouldn't be. At that point, you just rank them in order and hire them for a week.
Yeah.
Seriously, just work your way through all 4 of them, or start at the top, hire the top 2, work with both of them for a week, see if they're, tell them if it's not working out after a week, we'll just move on here.
Yeah.
And then you've got some fallback.
Yeah, I need to go through because I keep thinking of things I want them to do, and I haven't been adding them to my list, so I need to do that too. That way I can really say, okay, this looks like enough work for 2 or 3 people. But yeah. But the other issue I'm having is that my planning to date has mostly been based on what I can get done, and I'm trying also to figure out, as I plan the next 3 months or so, how do I figure that out? How do I plan it so that, I'm not shooting too low or too high based on having these other people around to take on a lot of this stuff. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. What do you mean?
So I've been planning my 12-week year. I've talked about that before on the show.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at it, and before the 12-week year was, what am I going to get done? and now it's what are we going to get done, right? You know, for the conferences, for the podcast, for you know, getting SOPs done and making sure that we know what the plan is for releasing episodes and things like that. You know, stuff that I just haven't even had time to think about. You know, I don't want to overload the team, but I don't want to, you know, aim low and then be like, oh, well, I guess we hit everything. Now what?
Yeah, I often go between the two, between whether you should like hit achievable goals and or like stretch goals. I err on the side of making things achievable, but having like big aspirations, right? So I guess one thing I discovered is that the one formula that guarantees procrastination and demotivation is if you ever have something that you must get done that you either do not have the ability or the time to do. If that condition is ever met, if those conditions are met, procrastination ensues and demotivation.
Okay.
So that's why, like, anytime I feel that, I have an immediate trigger. My immediate rule is replan the day. I stop what I'm doing. I stop hurrying. I stop rushing. And I say, realistically, what can be done today and what can be achieved? And I replan that or replan the week or whatever it is, and then operate off of something that I can succeed at.
Right.
So I don't try to set the goals too low. I just try to make them realistic.
Right.
And so, you know, you can set a little bit higher, but knowing that you're going to recalibrate. And I think that makes a lot of sense. But you never, ever want to get to the point, like if you make goals for your team and they know it's just not going to happen, you don't have the time or the ability, you're going to end up with a lot of people not. But if you make it so it's like, okay, we can definitely do this. Like this is what is on the horizon for this week, and we can accomplish this, and then I think you're okay. And as long as you're willing to accept the reality, right, and then replan your thing. That's why one of the reasons why I kind of dislike goals in general is like when you set those year goals is because they're like oftentimes you know you're not going to reach it, yet you're still like, and you don't have full control over it, and so you stop really working towards it unless. You know, so I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, that's why I like setting the 3-month goals, because it's like, look, is this achievable? You know, does it push us some? Because if it doesn't push us, if it's like, okay, well, we can roll over and hit this, I don't want those goals. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, if it's like, you know what, we're gonna have to push a little bit to get it.
Yep.
So that makes sense. I think I can do that. And yeah, there is going to be some adjustment. I mean, you know, maybe I hire somebody and it's like, okay, I'm setting this goal and I think it's going to be a stretch, and then we just totally, you know, run it over in 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah. And then that's fine. That's great. Yeah. I mean, that gives you momentum and success. And, you know, I'm not sure about like that you can aim, you know, I don't know. I guess in the bigger sense of it, like you psychologically, you don't want to aim too low.
Right.
But as far as like when you're talking about work, you need to aim low. Like you always lower than capacity. Like the actual steps, the actual implementation needs to be aim low. Whereas the dream, the vision, that should be, I think bigger. Dream bigger.
I think, and this kind of harks back to, you know, at least my experience with development, and that is that, you know, yeah, we want to get these features in because it'll grow the company in these ways, but ultimately, you know, there's some baseline that you have to accomplish in order to just get things done. And then beyond that, it's okay, you know, if we can do these other things, if we can push in these areas, then we'll have the payoff. And so, you know, we'll kind of have a velocity. We'll know how fast we can move. And then from there we can say, okay, so it looks like we can hit all of the things we have to do easily, which is what you're saying. And then here's kind of the extra stuff that we want to push. And we feel like we can get so much of it done, but if we can go just a little further, then, you know, then it kind of pushes things over the edge this way, and the business makes more money. I can pay people more and things like that.
Yep. And it'll just be a learning process, especially with new team. Basically, You've got a new team, so
I do. I have a new team. But yeah, it's also interesting just looking at like what I was paying this time last year for virtual assistant help and what I'm paying now for virtual assistant help, and the kind of help that I'm getting and the kind of expertise I can hire. I mean, it's amazing. I should have done this a long time ago.
Yep.
But anyway,
Something for your
sorry to
failure journal there.
Yeah, failure journal. But the other thing is and this is another aspect of this, is like getting all the standard operating procedures done and things like that. The velocity we have now, we can, as we automate and standardize, I mean, we can move ahead that much more quickly.
Right. Yeah.
And so our velocity now versus our velocity in 6 months is going to be completely different.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
So,
the key thing is to actually just be able to get the thing functioning now.
Yep.
And then don't worry about speed. And then eventually you'll add speed.
Yeah. But the thing that's really been funny to me too is that, so I've had Grace working for me for about 2 months, and it's gotten to the point where I don't even have time to like answer her questions. Sometimes I'm getting on my computer at like 8 at night and going, this, that looks great. This, okay, go.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad about that because I really want to, just have the level of collaboration where she knows exactly what I'm looking for, instead of okay, yeah, what you did is fine. But on the flip side, it's funny. I've decided that I'm writing like $500 emails, or having her write $500 emails, because whenever I send emails out for DevOps Remote Conf, I get a couple people signing up. And so we're up to like 20 people signed up for DevOps Remote Conf, which is kind of where I expected to be. Mm-hmm. But what's funny to me more than that is that JS Remote Conf, I've had 3 people sign up, and I don't have any speakers or any schedule or anything listed.
Nice.
And so I think that one is just going to go gangbusters when we get all that stuff together.
Yes.
So on that note, I mean, things are at a plus. But yeah, I was completely overwhelmed last night just from the getting the podcast onboarded and finishing the emails for DevOps Remote Conf and trying to plan out what's going on for the next year. And then just the hiring, it's just been crazy. I've actually had 2 people that I had in-depth interviews actually cancel on me. One of them was like, I don't want to be a contractor. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Yeah, I just don't want to pay quarterly taxes. And I'm just like,
if that's a stumbling block, if that's hard for you to accomplish,
yeah,
you're probably not going to do well here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
it's a good filter.
Anyway. So yeah, but yeah, I've also set some yearly goals. I'm basically looking to double my net or my gross income, and I'm looking to grow in a couple of other ways too. I want to start a couple more podcasts. Not that I'm necessarily going to be on, but I keep getting requests for those areas, so I'm going to do that. And I can't unless I hire people, because I don't have time for it all.
Yep.
Anyway, I've pushed us over our time. It's 11:15, but
it's all right. It was my crazy story that really pushed.
It's all good. I just I needed that input, and so I thought I'd push it and ask. So,
should we do our thoughts?
Yeah, thoughts for the week. I'll say whatever it is that you suck at, triple down on it, and spend 5 days a week doing it so that you can practicing it, so that you can come out the other side significantly better. I mean, I'm already starting to see the gears turning with copywriting and how it can dramatically improve my sales funnels. So
I like it.
Yep. My thing, I was talking about being overwhelmed, and I mean, just having the plan, even if it's just there are these couple of big things that I'm gonna take care of, like hiring somebody. just having that plan makes it so much easier to kind of deal with, because you can see the way out, even if the way out is somewhat painful.
Yep, that's true. I think mine would be, what can you cut out that you don't need? That's irrelevant. That's like interfering with your life. Like so, for example, like I've been talking about, taking a lot of stuff, checking things less often. I've completely cut out news. I don't even know what Trump's doing right now. I don't care, because I was following it too closely. And it was just an indulgence, it's a waste of time. And it was also, sometimes it's going to make you upset no matter what, whether good things happen and then other people attack what you could perceive as good, or bad things happen, right? Mm-hmm. Either way, it's going to make you upset. It doesn't affect my life at all, really, like not really. So I don't need to know it. And, if something really is going to happen in the news, and I've always said, I've never been a big news person, but I've always went over and checked Fox News or CNN, once a day or something like that. Zero. I did zero of that for the last like week and a half or 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I'm not checking email, right? I'm not, because it's not even on my phone. I'm not checking Facebook and YouTube comments. I get over 100 a day now. And so, I mean, I'm checking them once a week and just scanning through them, but oh gosh, it's holy crap, there's a world out here and I can live in the world because I don't have all of this stuff going on. It's just so, I can't even describe to you how, I didn't realize how enslaved I was until I see how free I am now. I don't need any of that stuff. I could just get off all of those feeds, and wow, it's so much.
John, real quick, the website's been down all week, and I haven't been able to get in touch with you. No, I'm just kidding.
I've been emailing you, man. Jeez.
But we've kind of talked about this at different times, but it's I finally actually implemented it and did it, and it just comes down to don't pick things, don't check things that you can't act on, that the information is actually not going to produce anything, right? Looking at analytics, we've talked about that. And then also just with the email, it's you're going to act on your emails, but not when it's on your phone, 90% of them. So one of the key ingredients to being stressed out is to have something urgent that you cannot actually respond to. If you think about the times when you're most irritated in life, it's when someone, I always call it interfering with me, but it's but what it comes to is, it's basically this feeling of, I need to do this thing, but you're preventing me from doing it, or I can't get to a computer to do it right now, or the traffic's preventing me from doing it. So email on your phone, at least, for me, is that all the time. It's and it's I need to get to a computer so I can respond to this. Instead, it's okay, I could just check it once a day, possibly twice a day, when I can actually respond to everything. So I would just say, cut out everything that you don't need, that's somehow making inroads into your life. Just cut them out, get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. I mean, right now, you mentioned you don't know what's going on with Trump, and it's mostly confirmations on his appointments. And yeah, if I can follow it, but I'm not going to impact it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, whoever he puts in his cabinet isn't going to impact me, only to the degree to which he can get the laws passed that he wants and things like that. And that's down the line, and then I call my congressman, or fly to Washington, D.C. and have a fit in front of the White House or something. But, up until that, it doesn't have an impact. And so, why spend the energy on it?
Right.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. Ignorance is sometimes bliss. You don't need to know, information that doesn't immediately benefit you or you don't act on is wasted information.
Yeah. I mean, I do keep track of it because I feel like I have a civic duty to sort of know what's going on. But I'm just waiting to hear if they confirm these people, and I'm waiting to hear, what laws are being pushed through, and do I care?
I would challenge that. I would say that it's actually not going to affect you. I would say look back in your year and look at where having that information actually in your life ever actually made a real difference in your life in some way?
Well, that's what I used to tell people was, you know what? There's nothing the president has ever done that really impacted me. And I can't say that anymore, but there's only one thing that the president has done that impacted me, and that was Obamacare.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, and even if it impacted you, right? Because I think, and that's where I was first at. I was like, oh yeah, there are things. It doesn't matter. It impacted me like the fucking rainstorm impacted me. Like I didn't have a vote or a say in it, and it didn't matter if I knew it was coming or not.
That's true.
It came and I dealt with it. Like, so me following it and praying, oh, I hope this happens or I hope this doesn't happen. Right. Unless I'm actually going to like say, all right, gentlemen, grab your rifles. We are not going to let this happen today. Unless I'm going to that, doesn't matter. Like, sure. Okay, fine. Now the tax rate's 90%. Well, guess what? I didn't have any fucking choice. So I can either raise an armed rebellion or I can pay it. You know? So anyway.
So I've been having a lot of really good conversations with Dan, who's been helping me. He's basically taken over the Sublime site. We did a product launch this week that went fairly well. But we've been meeting to work on that project together, and he's going to help with the another product launch that we're doing. And so we've been having a lot of really good conversations. And one thing that came up was this idea that once you get past a certain point, improvements start to take more and more effort.
Yeah.
Like it takes you knock out a few easy wins, and then like, so I was telling Dan, I was like, yeah, you know, now that you mentioned that, yesterday I spent like 3 or 4 hours like sifting through data in our subscriber base and like asking myself a bunch of questions. And I made a few discoveries that I think could potentially really help us and gave me some good ideas. But, you know, that was a lot. You know, that's not like I just sit down one day and bang out this thing that's going to like double our business. It's like takes a lot of effort once you get beyond sort of the beginner, you know, the easier beginner gains.
This is exactly where I am with Watch Me Code. And it started last year when I made the decision to change the pricing, and that forced me to look at the rest of what I'm doing with Watch Me Code. And I'm tearing down my business so that I can build it again. I feel like Tiger Woods rebuilding his golf swing from the ground up 4 times because I have to. I can't take what I've been doing and move forward with it because it doesn't serve me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really difficult and really time consuming.
But worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yep.
All right.
Rock
See you guys
on.
next week.
All right.
See ya.